Okay, we have connection. Nice. So, first things first, just to test that my voice is coming through okay. Seems to be. We are 2 folks down tonight, so sadly Mark, who is our Lieutenant Phlesc, will not be joining us, so Phlesc will be a supporting character for the moment, and obviously Chris Bell, who plays our security and tactical officer Garrow, will not be with us either. He's not feeling too well. COVID, apparently. Yikes. So his character will also be a supporting character for now. But 4 out of 6 still remain. That's not bad, so we shall continue on. So, before I go any further, who are we missing? Yeah, we haven't got... I currently don't have Liz on the list of players connected to Foundry. Do you need me to post the link again?
No, it's just apparently something to do with the when it's loading the game.
Right, okay. Oh, yeah, I can see
I guess the downloading world data sometimes doesn't want to load all the way.
Cool. Well then, whilst we're waiting for Liz to download her way into our map, let's turn off the intro theme music, and let's also turn off the engine rumble while I direct your attentions towards our new intro video. Thanks very much to Webby from our Tuesday Navis lot for compiling this intro video for me, because I found myself ill-equipped to actually pull it off. So thank you very much again, Webby. Much appreciated. So here we go, the new Combs intro video. See you in a couple of seconds, guys. And hello and welcome, everybody. I am MJ the GM, and I will be your Games Master for this afternoon. Welcome along to the further adventures of the USS Combs. With me are most of my intrepid crew. So we will be continuing without our other 2 for the moment, but we'll see whether or not we complete an episode today, or if it has to get postponed. USS Combs, yes indeed. Hello, suitable substrate. Welcome along again. So, yeah, let's get on with things. So just to make sure everybody's connected in, lovely, seeing their character sheets and all that jazz. I'm just going to stick us on bridge ambience for the moment. So before we begin, some folks were spending their acclaim and or momentum, so let's get into that first. Is there anybody else who wants to have a look at spending their acclaim or their milestones, pardon me, not momentum?
I think I'd be okay to just do a straight up like rep boost if I can afford that.
Should be able to. So let's give a quick look. I noticed that my momentum and threat meters were not present, so I'm just reloading. Excuse me, there they are. Lovely. Right, so Sot's reputation is currently at 4, so you want to boost your reputation to 5. Oof. Alright then, that will claim all 5 of your acclaim, but it will...
Well,
boost your reputation all the way up to 5. So we're going to change the text of what reputation 5 means for you, just to keep in your character notes. Once again, for posterity, I know I've already said it twice, but I'll say it again just to make sure. Reputation is mostly a measure of how other people treat you based upon the reputation that you've garnered. So it's mostly in regards to how other folks within Starfleet respond to you. So having the benefits of having a high reputation means that everybody looks at you with a measure of awe and respect if you hit reputation 5. But of course, that reputation also has as much to do with your rank as well. So one of the things I like to encourage is if folks are looking to try and up their character's rank in Starfleet and or other places, then I usually put it as a prerequisite that you up your reputation to 5 first, so that it shows that your character has worked hard to garner a reputation for hard work and all the rest. And so when you do eventually go up a rank, your reputation will reset to the default of 3, representing that gaining a new rank gains new responsibilities and new privileges. As a result, your reputation has to be built up all over again through doing acclaimed works. So, there you have it. So if folks are okay with what they've done, I mean, we've increased most folks' reputations, and because Mark and Chris Bell are not here to say what they want to spend their acclaim or milestones on, we'll skip them for now. So, anything else anybody else would like to ask or get done before we crack on with today's episode?
Just want to double check that we can only spend our acclaim and milestones between episodes and not during.
Almost usually yes, because they represent stuff that happens in between the episodes.
Cool. Yep.
Unless you give me a particularly compelling reason to say that you want to spend a milestone, now during the episode. Usually it's a between episodes thing to represent character growth or your character reassigning their priorities, like Neshlel did with taking some from medicine and putting more in con, representing that she was taking time out of her medicine training and applying it more to flight training. So, there you go. That's the idea behind it, at least. Was there anything you wanted to spend your milestones or acclaim on?
I was thinking of changing the focus, but I couldn't think of any, so...
Okay. But, yeah.
I know, I'm having a hard time thinking of a focus as well.
Well, there you are, then. Milestones, at least, can be held onto. They don't go unless you spend them, whereas acclaim is something that you generate on a episode-by-episode basis. Because acclaim has more to do with your actions during the course of an episode, and therefore, as soon as the episode is completed, or before the next one starts, I should say, is when you've got a time frame to spend your acclaim. Whereas milestones stick around. Clear as mud, I hope? So, unless there's anything else anybody wants to ask, up question about, or make a note of, then I am going to proceed. So, taking us to the bridge. Let's just make sure that the ambience is running here. This episode is called That Which Is Unknown and takes place a good 3 months later to your previous adventure, which was the one that saw you on the planet known as Footfall. So, we will begin in the usual way. Captain's log, stardate 48483.2. The Combs has received orders to head to the Takara system. This mission has been classified as top secret, command eyes only. What I am permitted to say is that we are to meet with a Dr. Jabren. He is the lead scientist we'll be working with as we help supervise the field test of a new, improved quantum torpedo that Jabren and his team are currently developing. Starfleet intelligence has concerns that, with the Romulan border less than 20 light years from Takara, they may know about and intend to steal the device. The crew is expected to be on alert and to provide whatever security measures are needed to ensure no one gains access to the potential weapon, especially the Romulans. It can't be stressed enough that the Federation doesn't want them to have access to something that could conceivably affect the balance of power in the quadrant. So, the Combs is currently en route to the Takara system. If there's anything you would wish to get done ahead of your arrival in the system, now would be the time to put it forward. Okay. So, the Combs meets with the representatives in the Takara system. The Takarans you don't know much about, generally. They tend to be a people that have kept moral very much to themselves. Therefore, there's not a heck of a lot of information about them excuse me, in Federation records. But, as has been noted, they are close enough to the border with the Romulans and the Federation that contact has been made on a few sporadic occasions. So, because you have been invited, the Combs is challenged on entry to the Takara system, but you're able to provide the proof that you have been invited and therefore are directed to the planet of Takara Prime. Once you are in orbit, and they seem to make sure that your flight path is shall we say, frequented with a good deal of Takaran, which you guess are Takaran ships. Most of them are of a size significantly smaller than the actual Combs itself, but these fleets of attack ships that the Takarans are fielding are as much a potentially a security gesture as they are maybe even a bit showing off that the Takarans have got their own little fleet of attack ships. Nevertheless, you have been invited here, so you are allowed into orbit of Takara Prime, and before long you are given coordinates to beam down to in order to meet Dr. Jabren. So, who amongst of you guys are going to be traveling down to Dr. Jabren's lab in order to give this project he's overseeing a once-over? I'm going to assume the first officer, because that tends to be the first officer's job.
She's only going because it's part of her job.
Yeah. Plus, my own personal recommendation, well, pretty much science would be a definite help, because you're there to help oversee the thing. Engineering could potentially be required for this, because, again, it's a new piece of tech. So, it might behoove at least somebody from engineering, maybe the chief engineer, not necessarily, to have a look. And of course there's a possibility of using security as well, just to keep an eye on whatever, so. But ultimately up to you. I am just giving recommendations. If you think you want to field somebody else to the Takaran lab, then that's entirely your prerogative. So, put your away team together, number one, and let's see who's going down to visit Dr. Jabren. Woo! Everybody's going! The whole crew moved. Ow!
I'm trying to highlight just myself. Thanks.
Accidentally had everybody else selected as well. It happens.
Yeah.
Now, so obviously, Dr. Sott can go, but he's a medical scientist more than anything else. So, if you don't think that Dr. Sott would want to go, that's entirely up to you. But, of course, new experimental weapon might need somebody with a medical expertise there just in case. So that's all the main characters. Are there any supporting characters you would like to take along? I mean, for instance, maybe the Chief of Security, or one of his lesser security officers. Was that an emphatic no I heard from you there, Dave?
No. I was actually going to say yes. I wasn't.
My mistake. You said one thing, I heard another.
We might need the ops officer too. You never know.
Okay. Especially since Lieutenant Phlesc has got electroplasma power systems, transporters, warp field dynamics, that kind of thing as focuses, so those could technically be very useful. The security officer, because of course. So, yeah, are you guys happy with that selection, or do you want to maybe suggest somebody else? Trasa's decided she doesn't want to go, and she's sending Ensign Akos instead.
We ride and die together. Or is it ride or die together?
Depending on who's flying the shuttle at the time, who knows? All of a sudden got picture of somebody with a tattoo on the inside sleeve saying "Born to Raise Hell" or something.
How did you know?
We ride a dog.
Had that? How did you know Tavish has that tattooed on it?
I know most things.
Studied engineering at the School of Hard Knocks.
Damn right.
Oh, good lord.
Yes, indeed. Right, so you guys okay with that selection of who's going down to the surface?
Yeah.
Cool. Alright, the captain is happy with that selection, and therefore reminds you that you are here to basically judge this project that Dr. Jibren is undertaking, and you are representatives of Starfleet and the Federation as a result. So, not that I'm saying behave, but,
Why do I have a feeling when he's saying all this, he's mostly looking at...
Well, that would be your
Hopkins.
paranoia talking then, wouldn't it? Doesn't say you're wrong. I'm just saying. Maybe.
Like, there's no talk, I can just see him making eye contact with
Well then. Let's take us
What have I
down.
done wrong?
Nothing.
Trust. I have no idea.
Nothing. It's all good. It's all good. Right then. So, let's take
Oh,
folks...
really bad. Eyeballing the Klingon that has a bat lift.
So, you materialize inside of what you expected there to be, a laboratory. You've materialized on the transporter pad, and you are greeted by a Takaran. Takarans are kind of tall and kind of reptilian. Definitely humanoid in appearance, but they have a more reptilian color to their skin. Like I've noted before, the Takarans themselves tend to keep very much to themselves, and therefore there's not a heck of a lot known about them. So this is a new and unique opportunity for representatives of the Federation and Starfleet to be invited to Takara in order to have a look. Dr. Jibren, the Takaran in the what appears to be their equivalent of a scientist's lab coat, greets you. Other Takarans are present, most of which, when you exit the transporter room, appear to be security officers with disruptor pistols and armor, but they are letting you through. as you would hope and expect, and Dr. Jabren takes the lead in directing you down a series of corridors into this area, his main laboratory. So, as you enter in from an adjacent corridor, there's these transparent plastic windows that allow you to see into what looks like a server room with a great many high-powered computer processors and servers working busily. Dr. Jabren turns to you. Thank you very much for coming. As you can see, we've been taking our time with developing the various simulations necessary to try and nail down the science behind our new prototype quantum torpedo. We believe we have exhausted all of our various models and are now finally ready to put this into actual practice. Hence our invitation to yourselves as representatives of Starfleet and the Federation. If you would like to accompany me, I will show you the simulation logs that we have gathered thus far. So you should have full access to your characters. Feel free to follow Dr. Jabren. If necessary, I will take hold of the characters whose players are not present. But it seems like you do have access to all of them, so that's cool. Dr. Jabren leads you into what appears to be his main office. There are a good number of data banks and displays which are showing various different pieces of information on the prototype torpedo. So one display shows a mineralistic mineralistic? Is that even a word? It's a word now. I've invented a new word. Woohoo! Mineralistic composition of the torpedo. Another one is a breakdown of all the various different components. Another one is a load of energetic data. You've got lots of different displays, all to do with the same piece of technology. Well then, I suppose since you're here to see it, you may as well have a glance over the data. And Dr. Jabren activates a 3D hologram, which now springs into life on the table out of a holographic projector. Those doors appear to lead into the main computer room. And you are now given free rein to actually have a look at all of the data, including this holographic representation of what the torpedo will look like. So. Of course, starts Dr. Jabren, in order to conduct a proper field test of the torpedo, I am going to need access to your ship's specifications.
Why is everybody left?
Everybody's busy looking at in the computer room. That's fine. Tavish suddenly feels very alone. Where's everybody gone?
Put my head back in.
So yes, Nashel just pops her head back around the corner. And yes, Dr. Jabren appears to be waiting. Sorry, Connie, I talked over you there. What was that?
Okay, I asked Dr. Jabren what kind of specifications.
Well, anything and everything, really. We need to make sure that we have computed the minimum safe distance for the detonation of the prototype in order to make sure that we don't accidentally damage your ship in the resultant explosion. So I would be needing access to your ship specs so that we can calculate the optimum safe distance. If that is agreeable.
Can you
Are you stuck?
I'm stuck with all three characters.
So Trasa is moving around back there, gets stuck in between the gap between the wall and the server. Okay.
along with Darrow.
Do you realize that these computer servers are very much on par with the kind of computer technology you're used to seeing in the Federation? So it seems the Takarans are on the same level technologically as the Federation. So
Lily is just standing there, not saying anything.
conspicuous in her silence. Yes.
She's been told to behave, so
Yes.
she's not saying anything. Unless given orders. Unless given orders, she won't do the ship specifications.
Unless given orders, she won't give the ship specifications.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Gotcha. Dr. Jabren is just still standing there with a data pad, looking around expectantly.
What do you think, Commander?
Let me go ask the captain real quick. And he just removed my character, not Dalton's.
So, let's shirk responsibility for making decisions for just a second. Okay.
She was told to behave.
That's fine. Can I get Commander Hopkins there then to give me an let me see, an insight and command task, please? Insight and command check.
Yeah.
I'll keep the difficulty to myself. Any focuses that apply here? Potentially yes, so you can use a focus as well. I won't tell you which one.
I'm guessing ship tactical system.
I will leave that for you to determine, but for now, I'm keeping this under my hat. And if that doesn't make you paranoid, I don't know what will.
Either that or negotiation.
Either way, insight and command check, if you please, with a focus. Very good. All right. Trasa definitely gets the feeling. In fact, you gained a momentum for that. Well done. Gets the feeling that Jabren's holding something back. But that's all you get. That's the kind of sense that Trasa's getting from Dr. Jabren at the moment.
As science officer, I'd like to ask Dr. Jabren for his how he's planning to calculate it, and with the ship specifications in my head and in my heart, I would like to calculate it myself.
I like that. In my head and in my heart. Science through and through. I love it. Sure. So Jabren just goes, well, we need your warp field specifications so that we can calculate the potential for the disruption of your warp field in case of more powerful detonation than we expected. We also need the layout and gradient power of your EPS power flows, so that just to make sure that any electromagnetic radiation that comes off of the detonation doesn't disrupt your power. But mostly those kind of issues. We need to make sure that there is a less of a. Hang on, this is Matt stumbling over his words here. Let me try putting in my actual teeth. Okay, try again. We need to make sure that we accurately calculate the minimum safe distance. To Neshlel, this sounds pretty reasonable. I mean, after all, this is a prototype weapon. Yes,
Hopkins is gonna go up to Tavish and be like, I know you modified something last mission. Can you look at the specs and see if there's anything skew?
Lord Commander?
Look
Um,
for something that doesn't seem right with the torpedo from an engineering
Sure.
standpoint.
What were you going to say,
Dr.
Dave?
Bren,
Oh, yeah, go on.
Lily Tavish is just going to turn around to Dr. Bren and just go, excuse me, Dr. Bren, would you mind me having a look over the specifications of the torpedo, as I am chief engineer on board the USS Combs.
Oh, of course, no problem. And he offers you, the seat at the console.
Oh yeah.
I think you will
Can't
be.
get on the seat.
I think you will be pleased. As you can see, and he taps a few buttons on the configuration panel so that he brings up the relevant data. As you can see, a regular specification, the regularly made. No, Matt's choosing the wrong words there. I get this kind of weird anxiety aphasia where it's not actually aphasia, that's whatever, but I trip over words and forget them. I know there's a word for it, but I can't think of it. A regular photon torpedo will detonate with a 25 isoton yield. So he brings up the simulated explosion of a photon torpedo. Whereas a current quantum torpedo, its destructive capacity is currently measured in the range of 60 isotons. According to our test data, our simulation data of our new torpedo, the projected isoton yield of this new quantum torpedo should be in the range of 100 isotons. So,
That's a significant.
Can I get a reason and engineering task from you then? With a difficulty of 4.
Can I use experimental technology focus?
Yes, you can. Very good.
There's a reason why Hopkins asked them to do it.
Yes, very good choice.
And again, they modified a phaser to be a grenade.
If anyone's going to know about making things go kaboom, it's going to be Tavish. I know there's an implication there, but let's move beyond that and just concentrate on the fact that you've now got all this data. Tavish has now got all this data spooling up in front of her on the screen, so let's see what she makes of it. Reason and engineering, difficulty 4. With focus.
Reason and I've already got it. Focus.
Okay, 3 successes. Not bad. Alright then. So... There's a lot of... I mean, Tavish is very good at experimental technology and therefore stuff that's, monkeying with existing stuff. What the Takarans have done here to create this torpedo is not entirely obvious. There's still a couple of bits. There's a lot of quantum equations going on in here that are a bit... What? However, the numbers seem to be adding up. The torpedo itself, in a fashion not entirely dissimilar to a regular, I say regular, the current breed of quantum torpedo. This new one seems to, according to the data, cause pretty hefty amount of damage to physical structures, but also will cause a rupture in subspace that could potentially prevent a stable warp field from being created. So the power readings coming out of this prototype torpedo are really impressive. The potential of it is incredible. If you shot one torpedo at somebody, you could knock out their entire warp field.
with looking at the data for the torpedo, and Tavish having probably a very intimate knowledge of the systems, the specifications of, the Combs. Would she be able to do the calculations without putting in, without giving the
Ship specs?
giving the ship specs? Yeah.
Potentially, yes. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of help from maybe Lieutenant Gurkow as well, because
Yeah.
for statistical analysis, be able to calculate the probabilities of, like Connie already mentioned, trying to do the same thing. So, Connie, if you could get Neshdell to give me a reason and science check in a similar fashion. I think
Reason.
statistical probability as a focus would work better. This is going to be difficulty 4 as well, because this is all pretty groundbreaking stuff. Like I said, a lot of quantum physics level calculations going on here.
Am I being the principal?
Yes, this is how much Neshlel now understands the data and the myth that's being displayed. Okay, so what Dr. Jabren has been saying makes a certain amount of sense, and if this thing is as destructive as he has noted, as the data seems to suggest, then yeah, it's got potential to, if the Combs is not within the minimum safe distance, this torpedo has the possibility of destabilizing the ship's warp field, and who knows what else. You know, they could find themselves in a stilled area of space with no way of getting out except on thrusters. So it might very
Why are
well
they
be
shooting it in
possible.
the ship's
Sorry, go on.
direction? Why are they shooting it in the ship's direction?
Well, no, you haven't asked that question yet, or it hasn't been broached yet, but so anyway, whether or not both Tavish and Gurkow feel confident they could calculate it themselves, maybe, but they both seem to be laboring a bit under the myth that's gone into creating this torpedo. So there's a certain level of uncertainty, at least in their regard. So you could try it by yourselves, obviously, but the fact that neither Tavish nor Gurkow fully and completely understand some of the quantum calculations that have gone into this device, there is the slight risk that you might not fully anticipate the minimum safe distance required. So at least there's that level of doubt in your minds. What you choose to do with it is entirely up to you.
With the fact that I'm having a look at the data and the minimum safe distance for the ship, and this potentially having an effect on the warp field, the warp engines and the warp field. Is the calculations? Would I understand if the calculations are correct for the minimum safe distance?
From what you've been able to gather from those task checks that you've just done, you reckon you've got a fair idea? A fair to good idea of what the minimum safe distance should be?
Lydia's going to ask Dr. Bran. Is it Jabran? Sorry.
It's Gibran.
The calculations which the quantum calculations which Lily didn't understand.
Mhm.
She's going to ask if he would mind explaining them to her, because it is the only thing she isn't grasping at the moment.
Oh, of course, that's fine. I mean, if you want me to assist you in calculating the minimum safe distance for the ship, I can do so. If that would be agreeable.
Commander?
I do have a question. What, besides the certain effects to our warp engine, is it safe for humanoids to be around after said explosion?
Well, according to our current data models, the explosion should last a few seconds, and therefore the radiation, the destructive damage should dissipate. But, of course, that's the reason we're doing a live fire exercise. We need to see if all of our calculations and simulations yield the same results as an actual live fire test. According to our data, there should be no long-lasting effect to the area after the moment of detonation. Therefore, it should, within a certain margin of a small margin of error, be safe to venture into the area after the detonation. Say, perhaps a standard minute or so.
I don't suppose I could see if this is what he was trying to hide. Still trying to figure out
Your
what he was
overall...
probably...
I'm sorry, I interrupted you there.
trying to figure out what he was hiding from. Or what he might have been holding back.
Well, it's still not entirely clear what he's holding back, but at the very least, what he just said in regards to how safe it is to go in afterwards, he seems, in Hopkins' opinion, to be telling the truth in that. There was none of the usual signs you expect to see with someone who's lying, looking away, fidgeting, their facial features. I mean, that being said, Takarans are new, and therefore you don't know if they're if their bodily tics or their bodily tells are the same as other humanoids. So there's a certain level of uncertainty in there. But in this regard, you reckon he is telling the truth?
Yeah, I guess have him help you figure out the medium safe distance.
Medium rather than minimum. I like it. So there's the minimum safe distance, and we want to be an extra little bit back. If that's what I'm understanding.
Yes.
Excellent.
Enough where we can still see, but
Excellent.
just in case something goes wrong. With a little bit of more cushion.
Lily is going to ask the commander, just have a talk with the commander, not actually stand there, but actually go over and say, can you talk to the captain to see if we can give them limited access to some of the systems, some of the system specifications.
There we go.
Because giving out the actual specifications to the ship, even though this is what a new ally is,
I get where you're going. Yeah.
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 It's still slightly a security concern giving it over to somebody who's not actually a member of the Federation.
She
Yes.
will step out of out into the hallway and then make the call.
Can I get, I mean, hang on, let's have a look. Can I get Dr. Sott to give me an insight and command check as well, and he can use his psychiatry focus on this?
Certainly.
Two successes, not bad, not bad. Okay, okay. Again, Dr. Sott has not met Takarans before, and as such, in a similar fashion to the difficulty that Hopkins is having, you haven't experienced enough of Takarans' body language when they're, relaxed or at rest, as to compared to when they might be agitated. So, as far as getting a further read on what Hopkins seems to be insinuating, Sott himself can't tell if Dr. Jibran is actually hiding something, but there's certainly at least a measure in his voice that suggests that he is holding something back, but as to what it could possibly be, you don't know. So far, the stuff he's been saying in regards to this minimum safe distance, or at the very least, the thing on let me try that again. All the stuff with the specifications, the isoton yield, the safety of it, how safe it'll be for a humanoid to be within the explosion radius after the point of impact, seems to ring true to Sott. There's no hesitation in his voice when he gives these points over, so it doesn't suggest that he's lying about that at all. Which is good news for Sott, because, don't want to have to treat for radiation burns or whatever other kind of damage that gets accidentally spread from the point of impact. So from a medical standpoint, it seems that Jibran so far is on the level with the destructive capability of this torpedo. In the meantime, Hopkins can open a quick channel to the captain.
Commander Hopkins to the USS Combs.
Sobek here. Go ahead, Commander.
The head scientist, the doctor, is asking for specifications on the ship to help determine the safe minimum distance for the ship to be during this live test fire of the torpedo.
I see. And I assume from the tone of your voice that you have concerns.
Yes, one, security concerns, and two, I get the feeling he might be holding something back, but to what, I don't know.
It is logical to withhold all sensitive information regarding the ship's specifications from somebody that we do not have the full measure of. I will agree to any reasonable security precautions that you recommend, Commander. If we wish to restrict the good doctor's access to certain systems alone, I would be agreeable with that recommendation.
Thank you, sir. Hopkins out.
Combs out. Alright then.
And then she'll go to Tavish and tell her that her request has been granted for limited use.
Okay.
Alright, so Tavish will say to Dr. Jibran, as you can probably understand, with this call, I will give you, I will have to give you limited data on the ship. Unfortunately, anything sensitive about the ship, I cannot give you, but at least some of the specifications for the ship, I can definitely give you, so we can put in the calculations. And if you don't mind, while you are doing those calculations, if I sit by and and have a look as well, and if you do come to any problems, then at least I am here and I can help.
That would
I
be
don't want
agreeable.
to. Okay. Thank you, Doctor, for being accommodating with us.
Thank you. You are, after all, guests and are here to observe the test firing of our new weapon. If I may now
Thank
take you through the procedure that we will be following.
Yes, please.
So as he's talking this through, Dr. Jabren will start typing in commands and will show a representation of what he's talking about on the screens for everybody to see. The decision has been made to conduct the test fire at the edge of Takaran space. We have managed to procure an old trading merchant freighter. The Takaran government compensated the merchant accordingly, of course, and have stationed this disused freighter at the very edge of the system, which is far enough away from any populated areas or used space lanes, so that it should be safe to conduct this test fire. The warhead will have to be placed on the merchant freighter manually. At the moment, the quantum state inside of the warhead is such that it is rather sensitive, and we don't want to trigger any kind of reaction by using a transporter beam. Therefore, trafficking of the torpedo from our facility here to your ship, and then from your ship to the test fire freighter, will have to be conducted manually, more than likely via shuttlecraft. Once the torpedo has been properly and safely stowed within the merchant freighter, the shuttle will then return to the Combs. The Combs can then assume the medium, and he says this looking at Hopkins, medium safe distance, upon which we can remote detonate the warhead and then observe the results. I take it that all this is agreeable.
Yes. I can't see a problem with that, as long as everything goes smoothly.
Righty.
Commander?
Sounds reasonable to Hopkins. And there's, again, no suggestion that he's lying about any of what he just said. As far as Neshlal's concerned as well, this sounds pretty reasonable.
Sounds reasonable, but still sus of him.
Yeah. Still acting sus. Okay. And again, Dr. Sott, similar thing. Limited knowledge of Takaran psychology, but the procedure suggests it sounds reasonably safe. The only bit that Sott might be a little concerned with, and the same could potentially go for anybody else really, is the if the thing is so unstable it needs to be transported manually and not via transporter beam, then that means it's going to have to be handled very carefully. So,
can I actually look into why it is so sensitive? Why a transporter? Because from how I from watching the Star Trek, most torpedoes are beamed aboard, aren't they? They're not actually,
Yeah, okay.
brought on board.
The thing with photon torpedoes, as they currently exist at this point in time, is that they are actually pretty easy to fabricate on a starship. So even the Combs has got a photon torpedo fabrication bay. So photon torpedo technology has been around for ages by this point, and so the ability of a ship to manufacture its own photon torpedoes is what makes the photon torpedo itself so nice and versatile. You don't necessarily have to go back to a starbase or a shipyard to get your ammunition refilled. It still consumes materials, of course, at the very least replicator materials, or replicator usage, I should say. But for anybody who's been paying attention to modern tech specs in regards to the Starfleet lot here, quantum torpedoes are currently in the state where they cannot be built on board a ship. The method of constructing, just at this point, the regular quantum torpedoes is such that they do need to be loaded on board at a starbase or a shipyard. Quantum torpedoes, as far as I understand, can be transported aboard, but by all accounts, this new prototype one is a measure and above current quantum torpedoes, so no problem is. It's not unreasonable that an experimental weapon, especially one that deals with altering quantum states of space and subspace, would need really good safety procedures. I'm not saying that it means it's automatically, obviously you wouldn't want to transport it by transporter tech. It seems a reasonable precaution to make, is all I'm trying to get at.
Okey-dokey.
It's just still the exact nature of how this torpedo functions and achieves its vast destructive capabilities is still not quite understood enough by Tavish that she can definitely point to why this torpedo should not be transported. It's possible that both Gurkow and Tavish could perhaps work out that by transporting it, you're altering the quantum state of something within the torpedo that needs to be left the hell alone, so that it doesn't trigger an early explosion kind of thing. It's possible.
So if we are taking it aboard the USS Combs, then I'm sure the Doctor is going to be coming with us. Probably having Lieutenant Garrow and his security team having a 24-hour watch there would with the torpedo would be good, and having people from the science team, and in case of emergency, having people from the engineering team also there for a 24-hour watch until we get to the Pacific area.
So basically, someone from pretty much every major department there to keep an eye on this thing.
Yes. And for Lieutenant Brent to be given at least access to some of, not all systems, but at least I don't know. What's kind of, as the captain said, restricted access to certain systems, but still him having access enough for him having intimate knowledge of this technology. Help in understanding.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, you get where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I get it. It's fine. Everybody else good with that, or do they have anything that they want to add?
I'm good.
Okay.
Happy with it.
Groovy. So, Dr. Jabren... Sorry, what was that?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Nothing.
So essentially, Dave was just saying that somebody from security, from medical, from science and engineering should always be present near this torpedo at every point during the journey until you get to the test site area, just to make sure. Which sounds reasonable precautions to me. And Dr. Jabren should have his access limited to only stuff that's to do with calculating the minimum safe distance, if I understand that correctly. Cool.
So, what I'm hearing is Hopkins is going to be staying up for however long it needs to be to get to the location.
Yeah. So it's going to probably won't take 24 hours to get to the edge of the system. It'll probably take significantly less than that, but because it's going to be the edge of the system that you're currently in, you're going to be traveling at impulse speeds only, so sublight speeds. So it will at least take the better part of a day at full impulse to get to the edge of the system and the place where the test fire is going to happen. Dr. Jabren is making requirements to just see the just looking at the power and the warp core in order to calculate the minimum safe distance for the warp field for the ship, as well as the potential EM interference from the quantum detonation, in order to make sure that it doesn't disrupt the power systems of the Combs. So those are the only two systems he wants to look at. He's not requesting access to weapons or helm or anything like that. So as long as you guys are happy.
As long as somebody is there with him, I can't see Tavish having a problem with it. More than likely, Tavish is going to be there with him most of the time, so I can't see Tavish having a problem with giving him access to that kind of stuff. I mean, This is her ship. She will know if he is,
larking about.
Larking about or something, and at least she can try to understand what this torpedo is. Yeah, what he's trying to do with it. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So, are there any further questions, comments, or observations that folks would like to make before preparations start being made for this test fire?
I will say Tavish will ask if Lieutenant Neslau will accompany her with most of, having a look over all the systems and stuff like that.
Nice. Okay.
Because she is Chief Science Officer, and I think having the Chief Science Officer and the Chief Engineer having a look over all the calculations is going to be I think that's that's a all-star team right there.
We'll be hovering over either side of his shoulders.
Yeah, as I've said, Takarans are pretty tall. They're not overly big or muscular. They are pretty tall, so he's gonna. there's going to be an interesting difference in sizes going on here. So I think Tavish is going to be more like up to just over Jabrel's shoulder, whereas Lieutenant Gurkow is going to be significantly shorter.
But
But
so I'm going to have. I'm going to be having Nesla on my shoulders. Dan, that's what you're telling me.
You see
Sitting on my shoulder.
Hopkins, you see Hopkins picks her up, and just like, all right,
Whoop! We're not
have her be-
talking Dirty Dancing type thing here, are we? We just lift her up. In
no,
No.
no. Hopkins just lifts her up and puts her on her shoulders. Like, there you go, you got height.
It turns out Hopkins is stacked. Anyway,
Hang on.
exactly.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure lifting up Gurkha is like normal weight.
Well, you know, Tellarites may be short, but they're pretty stocky, so they might weigh a bit more than their slightly shorter frame suggests. But nonetheless, yes.
Because Lily is. Well, she doesn't trust anybody, perfectly honest.
Nice to know.
She will ask our doctor that once we get to the site and we get to where the trading ship is, to make sure that there is, first of all, no living beings on it, and second of all, to make sure that it is a derelict ship. You know, there's no any humanoid remains in there, because
In case they really do want to test the effects on living creatures. Okay, I get you.
exactly. Yeah, I told you she didn't trust nobody.
That's so suspicious.
Yeah, and from all the questions everybody's been talking about, I'm sure Liddy would have picked up on the fact that some people that are not 100% trusting in this guy, so she's like, okay.
Alright then. Okay, so here's my next question. Who is going to be escorting the prototype to the Combs?
Well,
I think the
Nice.
first
Actually-
officer should be one of them.
I actually am going to suggest that Lily transports back to the Combs, and our chief, our chief pilot, I can't remember her name now.
Chief Helm Officer, yes.
Our chief helm officer takes over that. I think we need somebody who is going to be speeding. I will give up this.
It's nice to
It's
see
fun.
that Tavish's what's the word I'm looking for? Adrenaline junkie tendencies will only go so far when it comes to quantum torpedo detonation in the back of a shuttle. She draws the line there. It's nice to know there's a line
pretty
now.
much. There is a line.
All right.
Quantum torpedo in a shuttle, that's what I call a hot rod.
Pedal to the metal.
Really, you know
foot to the
what?
No.
floor. I like that. Hopkins says, no, you said you're not going to. I'm taking that. No backsies. It's official. You didn't want to do it. We're going to get an actual proper professional to do it. So let's take us back to the deck of the Combs. I'm just going to take us. So eventually, of course, you start to organize things with the Takarans. So I'm going to put folks back to their regularly scheduled postings for the moment. As you, yes, the whole endeavor requires a good bit of planning. You need to organize to bring a shuttle down. You organize who's going to be flying the shuttle. Have the team of folks ready and waiting to help bring the thing up so that they can escort it in. So I am going to first call to see how well you pack the thing in. So if I can get since you seem to be the one the most concerned with it, I'm gonna kind of nominate Tavish to be the one who places it in a secure hold in the shuttle. To that end, I will require a control and engineering. Anybody who wants to assist to make sure nothing goes wrong is more than able to assist with that. This is going to be
can I have assistance on this?
A control and engineering task. Now, it's only difficulty of 1, but I am going to spend a threat on upping the complication range, because if you get this wrong, there's a good potential for things to go, well, wrong.
Maybe,
Alright, can we have... Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to say maybe Phlesc can assist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was exactly what I was going to say.
Of course, parent figure. Nice.
Yes.
Anybody else?
Because I was gonna make sure that it's nice and secured.
Yep. So you could potentially give me... so if Hopkins helps, Hopkins could give an insight and security check to make sure that it's physically secure. Phlesc can do control and engineering. So I'm going to have... Who hasn't done much yet? Chris, since Sot is at the moment kind of spinning his wheels. Let's get you involved in this too. So if I can get you to take control of Lieutenant Phlesc for a moment. Can I confirm that you can access his character sheet? Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Cool. So if we can get Hopkins to give us an insight and security check with... No real focuses apply here, so that's fine.
And it's 1 dice, right?
But only 1 dice, yes please. And likewise, Phlesc giving us a control and engineering check. Maybe with the focus on manufacturing and metallurgy to make sure that the case is secure and all that business. So Chris, if you could do that for us.
1 dice again, sorry?
1 dice,
Or
yes
2?
please. 1 dice. Okay, and finally, Tavish, control and engineering. Experimental technology as a focus will be applicable here because you're going to be wanting to take the usual safety precautions to do with experimental tech. So,
Complication range is 2.
yes, and Chris just brushed it just now, so no pressure or anything. So, go for it. 2 dice
just
with
because,
focus.
Just because I want to make sure this is done properly.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to use a determination.
Good.
Use one of my values, and I'm going to use cool in a crisis.
Very good.
If that is applicable.
That sounds applicable to me. Steady hands and a clear head make sure that nothing happens. Or shouldn't. There we are. So, yes, that's the maximum number of dice we can use. That's 5, so go for it. Hold on to your butts. Oh, well, it's a good thing Phlesc is along, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a very good thing Phlesc is along. So that complication gets ignored. You have scored 4 successes overall, which means you got 3 over what was needed. You successfully transport the torpedo safely to the Combs and put it in a nice, secure area of the cargo bays. Or wherever else you want to put it, actually. Science labs or secure in I don't know, some kind of holding somewhere. But well done. Yes, that was kind of a nail-biting transport of the torpedo that happened there, but everybody kept their cool, kept their nerve, and got it on board the ship. Fine. All right. Well done. So, next, Dr. Jabren starts roaming around the engineering section, of course, with an eye to trying to calculate the minimum safe distance. Now that the ship, the Combs, is actually in flight, in transit, he claims he can get a better idea of the active power readings that the Combs generates, and therefore can get a better idea of how to calculate the distance more safely and accurately. As a result, can I get whoever wants to try it can give me an attempt at, let's see, insight and command to see if something is awry, but I will allow Tavish to replace command with engineering, and if Gurkha wants to get involved, I will allow, rather than command, for science to be used instead. So if Tavish and Gurkha want to get involved, they can do insight and engineering or science respectively. If Hopkins is still lurking over Jabren's shoulder, then
he doesn't go anywhere around the ship except for his quarters without her.
then insight and command would be the one from you. So now we all need to decide is who is going to be the lead in this little endeavor. To see,
Not Tavish, because
not Tavish,
my
okay.
insight is awful.
Yeah,
I
my
mean,
insight 10.
insight.
my insight's mine's 11 with 5 command.
So it
Oh.
suggests that Hopkins maybe should be lead, and Gurkha and Tavis should be. Hang on, I'm getting a cat talking to me. Yes, can I help you? You want to get involved in this as well?
Yes, more eyes to watch this shady person on our ship.
What do you think about Dr. Jabren? No? No comment? Okay.
Hey, tell that ship cat to go away.
The ship's cat is
No.
indeed being evicted right now. Thank you.
Tell. I know the ship's cat from the other one.
Yes, quite. All right then. So, Hopkins will give me 2 dice. Tavish to give me insight and engineering. Gurkha to give me insight and science. The latter two just rolling 1 dice. Something burning. Ah. It's not something you want to hear.
Any focuses?
Let me think. Tavish. Warp field dynamics for Tavish. Probably statistical probability again for Gurkha. Hopkins interrogation would suggest itself. So everyone's got a focus they should be able to apply.
Okay.
Not bad for Tavish. 2 for Hopkins, and an additional 1 for Gurkha. So that's 4 overall. Alright. Okay. The systems that Dr. Jabren asks access to seem pretty innocuous and reasonable at first, as I've already stated. If you want to make sure that you're at minimum safe distance from a quantum detonation, something like the ship's warp field and its energy balance and configuration make sense. However, there's just something about this whole situation that neither of you like. Excuse me. You can't put your finger on it, but Jabren is not telling the whole truth about something, or he's not revealing everything about this situation. There's a definite sense he's holding something back. Now, whether he's made any attempts to access systems that are restricted, it doesn't appear to be so. He has kept himself only to the power systems and the warp core. But there's definitely something to this. Not to mention the fact that, hang on a second, I'm now about to get battered in the face by a cat. No? Hello. He's not batting me in the face yet, so that's good. Hang on a second. Can I have a bit of help here, please? I have Kitty in the face. The ship's cat is having a go at me.
tell Sean to stop having a go?
It's not that cat.
Oh,
He's
okay.
mine. He's mine. Well, Arnie's not going to be watching this thread, so I won't get beaten up by him. It's fine. In any case, yes. Okay, now that you've had a good look at what Dr. Jabren is doing, like I said, there's definitely the sense that he's holding something back. But as you look on at what's going on, you're starting to form the opinion more and more that there's more to this. There's more to this torpedo than you've been shown so far. Again, the maths of it, you still don't entirely, are not entirely able to unravel. But you definitely get the sense there's something not quite right. Something is being left out here. Something potentially important.
Should we let the very blunt woman ask him about this?
Which one would be the very blunt woman, may I ask? Because there's a choice of at least two.
I mean, we can let the half clown do it, or we can let the engineer, chief engineer, do it.
I think the blunt one's more the engineer.
Okay, all right.
Nice to have that clarified once and for all.
Lieutenant Tavish will turn around and say to the good doctor, look, Dr. Jabren, I'm going to be really blunt here. Okay?
Very well.
Exactly what are you not telling me about this torpedo? And don't say there is nothing. You will. At the moment, I do trust you. I just. I do not want that trust to be. What's the word I'm looking for?
Betrayed?
Yes. So please tell me what are you not telling me?
I don't know what you want me to say, Lieutenant. I need to know the ship's specifications so that I can safely calculate the minimum safe distance of the explosion. This is an experimental technology. Have you ever heard the expression, plans do not survive contact with the enemy?
Yes, I have.
Well, this would be one of those situations. I'm sure you can appreciate that simulation and running numbers would only get you so far. This is going to be the very first live fire exercise of a torpedo that, up until this point, has remained entirely theoretical. So, if I seem nervous or holding anything back, it's more than likely because, well, my career depends upon this. If I don't see this through, then the Takaran Ministry of Science will more than likely pull my funding, and that will be the end of my career in science in the Takaran hegemony. Hegemony is the wrong word, Matt. In the Takaran government.
I can definitely understand that. I can understand that your reputation lies on this test. But my concerns are the safety and what my captain would say would be the safety of this crew and of this ship.
I understand. I do.
I am on your side. So please tell me exactly. You know, I want this to be a success for you, but unless we have all, you know, unless you have explained absolutely everything which is going on with this torpedo, we can't make it a guaranteed success. I want to help you, but unless you're willing to give me all the information, I cannot.
Anybody else want to get in on this?
I have incisive scrutiny. maybe it's a bit late, but since
Oh, yes,
wait,
you do,
I
don't
didn't.
you?
Oh, we did the insight task. I
Gain a
gain
bonus
a
momentum
bonus
for
momentum.
obtaining. You gain a bonus momentum
I
for
want-
the purposes of obtain information. Okay, what obtain information essentially is. Sorry to interrupt you again, Connie, but before you
Oh.
ask me something, let me make sure that you understand the the nuance. Obtain information is something you can do normally when you find something out, and you can spend a momentum to do what's called obtain information, where you essentially ask me, the GM, a question, a direct question about something that you have just done, and I have to answer honestly. So your incisive scrutiny gives you the ability to use this obtain information without spending the momentum. Is that clear at all? Or do I need to word it again? So essentially...
it's basically an
yeah. Essentially a question you
opportunity
get
to
to ask.
ask you a question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, you have to be very careful how you word it, because I may not be allowed to lie, but depending on the exact wording of the question, you know, you want to give me as little wiggle room as possible. And the question has to be about something to do with what you've just recently used your insight bonus for. So you can ask for folks to give you help on the exact wording of the question if you really want to, which I do recommend. So, ask your question.
Oh. Does anyone want to weigh in?
Yeah,
Besides,
anybody want to...
what is he hiding? Yeah, what do we
What
think?
are you hiding? If you act... So, as an example, if you actively asked me that, I could say something. And that would be my answer. You know. So you made this insight and science task attempt in regards to how much of the science of the thing seems to track with what Dr. Jabren appears to be doing, or trying to do, and how much you believe it to be the case. There's this thoughtful silence going on here. Bit of head scratching going on. So yeah, like I said, it's a question you can ask, and I do have to reply honestly, but in that regard, you have to be very careful about what question you do ask. So was there a theme on what question you wanted to ask me, Connie?
A theme. Without asking you the question, I'm just going to bring it out.
Yep.
I would say it's like, what system could be affected by this thing, this experiment we're doing, but that would, be classified as a benign event, but it's actually
Not.
like what? Yeah, something like.
Something
How would
along
we
that
word
regard.
that?
So yeah, okay, everybody got the gist of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if somebody would like to make a suggestion maybe of how that question could be tightened up to give me no room to maneuver out of an answer, feel free to. Otherwise I'll go with the gist of the question.
Connie, can you say the question again if you don't mind?
Would you like me to try?
If you would. If
Yeah.
you could.
So and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the general gist of what I gathered from what you were saying was you want to know if there's something about this torpedo that looks like it's fine, it's benign, the exact words that you said, but it proves in practice that it could prove not to be. So something that's being
Like
espoused as being safe, but actually is not.
So it could be like, oh, a blip has showed up on the life support, but it's nothing. But it's actually something like that.
So is there something in and amongst everything that you've done to look over Dr. Jabren's work that could be posited as being, well, a positive result, but is in fact could result in a negative one? That's the question. I mean,
No.
if no one can think of another way of wording that, I'll go with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No,
It seems a reasonably solid question, so I will go with that. Okay. Using obtain information, the answer would be no, which is a good result. There doesn't appear to be anything about this torpedo that is that suggests that it would be safe and is not, insofar as this thing is made for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to go bang and cause damage. And so far it seems that the amount of damage and the type of damage it would do does conform to what Dr. Jabren said it would do. Big explosion, destabilization of subspace to the point where a stable warp field can't be generated. So that's what this torpedo has been created to do, and to all intents and purposes, it definitely appears that that's what it looks like it's going to do. So in that regard, you've obtained that piece of information that at least cements that there's nothing hidden about the operation of this torpedo. That being said, because you have deigned to ask this question, I will allow another reason and science or reason and engineering check that folks can collaborate on in order to see if there is indeed something to do with this torpedo that you haven't discerned its the truth of it. The truth of its operation.
I think we should have Lieutenant MacLeod be the primary on this.
Okay. Especially since she seems to so far have done a very good job with it. Reason and science, or reason and engineering. So anyone with good stats in those could assist and or take command of it. I'd take it from the chuckle. That's Hopkins going, well, that's not me then.
I've got good stats in reason and fantastic stats in engineering.
So Tavish would be good to assist, definitely. Would you like to have Lieutenant Phlesc assist as well?
Yes, please.
So we can get Chris to help along with that. If you could be Phlesc again, please.
Sure.
So that's 2 dice for Gurkow, 1 dice for Tavish, 1 dice for Phlesc. There is room for a momentum spend or a use of a determination. Bearing in mind, using determination would give you a guaranteed 1 and therefore 2 successes. So,
Connie, this is up to you.
I'm just looking. I don't have any values, I think.
Somebody else who's helping could use their values. Let's have a look at Phlesc.
Sure, Phlesc.
I mean, desperation breeds inspiration might be a good one for Phlesc, but that suggests that the need to discern what this thing is really about is getting desperate. Which would make a certain amount of sense because you guys know that there's something being withheld here.
Hmm.
I mean, if you want me to use another determination, I have free thinker or mad engineer.
That's the one I was thinking you were gonna go with. Was the mad engineer?
All options, all valid, viable options.
So it's up to you, Connie. I'll let you make the decision.
Since Mark isn't here to
Yeah,
Say
yeah.
otherwise.
he's
Yeah,
not here
I'll-
to say no, we'll use his determination.
Alrighty then. I like it. Chris, then, if you could mark off one of Phlesk's determinations,
Yeah.
and when you roll one dice, remember to mark that you're using determination. He can include warp field dynamics in his focus for that.
Can I have the same as well?
Experimental tech. When you say the same, what you mean is...
I've got warp field dynamics too.
Oh,
as a
yeah, sure.
focus.
Yep. Absolutely. So, can I have Tavish's and Phlesk's individual one dice rolls, please? Naturally, Phlesc is going to be
Certainly.
rolling.
What was the attribute and discipline again? Sorry.
Reason and engineering, please, from
Form
Phlesc.
task. Use determination.
Focus
one
as well.
dice. Oh, beg your pardon.
Oh, that was good.
Nailed it.
Nailed it indeedy. So, Coddy, you're pretty safe. You've got a good, nice buffer there of successes. So whatever MacLeod adds is gravy on the boat. Ooh. You got way over what you needed to succeed there. Okay, so having taken another look at the specifications of the torpedo, now that you're very, very suspicious about what's going on here, you realize that the active power source of the torpedo, from the sheer amount of power that it's outputting, couldn't be anything else but a micro-singularity. So basically a teeny tiny miniature black hole, which is providing a constant supply of almost unlimited power, which would suggest why it's got such an extremely explosive yield. The detonation of the torpedo would implode that micro-singularity, which is how it can cause damage to physical space and subspace, and destabilize warp fields as a result. So, with the extra information that the extra success, pardon me, that you've garnered on top of what you needed in order to gain the extra points of momentum and whatnot. The only species Starfleet has ever encountered that has been able to utilize using micro-singularities as a power source successfully have been the Romulans.
Wet.
Oh.
I know this is a bit out of character, but Tavish is looks very concerned at the fact that there's a miniature black hole in that weapon.
Yes, there's very definitely a moment of a sudden sphincter puckeration when that realization is made, yes. I would make squeaky or farty type sounds, but the noise reduction filter on my microphone would blot it out so you wouldn't hear anything from me, so just imagine I was doing that.
I think it's
Something
time to
like-
interrogate Dr. Takaran a bit.
Sorry, what was that, Connie?
Are you basically telling Commander Hopkins that we need to interrogate somebody?
Not a formal interrogation. Just,
It's a
whatever.
nice casual, informal one.
Yeah, like, oh, by the way, how'd you come up with this?
Well,
Aye,
if you
aye.
let her know that it may be Romulan technology, then yeah, she's gonna definitely interrogate said person. nicely.
Yeah, well, we tell the commander, oh, this is how it works. It's similar to what the Romulans have, but, yeah, make of that what you will.
I think we also should inform the captain exactly what's going on as well.
He might want to know, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, you guys gonna go let the captain know. I will escort
word.
our friend here back to his room.
Oh, confining him to his
For-
room.
for, you
Sounds
know-
bad.
Questioning.
I like how you said, I'm going to interrogate him nicely. Is that even
Nicely.
possible? We're about to find out.
Talk while you talk, please.
You know,
Can Klingons interrogate nicely?
We're about to find out.
okay. You gotta interrogate him nicely as long as the Klingon side doesn't come out.
I think
Piss me off.
having Lieutenant Garrow there is probably a good option.
Okay.
When this
So not
This
to
happens.
not to help with the interrogation, more to hold Hopkins back if she snaps. Right, gotcha.
yeah.
So they do the old like good cop, bad cop.
Indeed. Or good cop, scary cop, you know.
You know, just in
Oh,
case we might need another.
Oh, good.
I'm joining. I'm joining.
I like how Tavish is getting as far away as possible. I'm getting the hell out of
Leave
Dodge. Sot is leaving the room. He's going straight to the captain's ready room. You can't hear the screams from in there.
Look, if no, Tavish has gone away because if they don't get the information out of him, then you just send in Tavish with the hyperspanner. That's
Because if Hopkins doesn't scare the bejesus out of Jabren, then, the hyperspanner might just.
yeah.
Yeah, the Klingon with a bat lift don't scare somebody. A human with the hyperspinner will.
What are the ethical implications of synthesizing a truth serum?
Ooh,
Oh dear.
interesting.
Solution 13, bright blue.
I like this actually. Tavish
Interesting.
approves of Dr. Sott's.
All right, let's
idea.
reason this out. You know there's a potential security threat because you're transporting an experimental weapon whose power source was not disclosed ahead of time. Or at the very least, that's kind of a tricky one, actually. It wasn't actively disclosed ahead of time, but now that you've figured out what it should be thanks to the math, that does mean that the math was present in the schematics of the torpedo. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it was a crime of omission, because the math is right there for anyone who's clever enough to figure it out. So you can't really use that against him.
That's Tavish's fault. I'm sorry.
I mean, we could use it against him that he could have colluded with the Romulans to get it.
So there's a security concern about the potential of where this might have gone. There's a lot of ifs and mights coming into this. So as far as the ethical concerns for injecting someone with a truth serum to make them tell the truth using chemical interrogation.
Yeah, no, don't worry. It's not my first plan.
Yeah, the captain.
Yeah.
If the captain's brought into this conversation, he would raise a Vulcan eyebrow to this and say that technically everything that you have at the moment is supposition.
So normal interrogation, got it.
So yeah,
Ask him when the
Mind
last time he had Romulan ale.
can you smell it on his breath?
No.
Breathalyzer
Would
test.
a mind
Go on, sorry,
would a
Dave.
mind meld help?
Would a mind meld help? Well,
would we be able to convince the captain to do it?
Yes, quite. Again,
Maybe it's a bit
technically,
intrusive.
yeah, it's a mind meld is, as has been rightly pointed out just then, a bit of an intrusive violation of someone's privacy. So unless you can come up with a really damned good reason why the captain would do this to somebody who is
Right,
essentially a guest on your ship, an invited guest.
Maybe we should just talk to this man and see where we go
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just think. So right now, the biggest thing is that it might have been coming, like the idea of it or the basic of the torpedo is that it's Romulan. What's currently the harm of doing a field test? What's the
You're trying to
What's
play out the
the-
scenario in your head. What's the likely outcome?
yeah?
Okay, well, let's reason this out, and the captain would join in on this. If your supposition appears to be correct, then it would suggest that if this does indeed appear to be Romulan technology, then that would suggest that the Takarans have got some kind of deal with the Romulans. Now, what do you know about the Romulans? They're a very secretive bunch. So why would a very secretive bunch like the Romulans give away a vital piece of energy-producing tech like their singularity cores?
All right, you saying that then is hold on, give
That's
me
fine.
2 seconds to think.
Reason it out. That's fine.
So that would suggest that if that's how we understand the Romulans, that this technology has been stolen then from the Romulans, and then I mean it gives the Starfleet an advantage, but I doubt stealing technology would be something
It might be frowned
Starfleet
upon,
would-
yes.
Yes. So, it's so questions would be in where I think being very being somewhat truthful to the Doctor would be a good idea. Going, look, you know, we know that there's a singularity in the torpedo, and we know that this, that the Romulans use this technology. So the question would be, where'd you get it? Where did you get it? It can't be I think you have to pressure him, but not to the point of where you are. We want him to be cooperative. Where this again, this is he as you said before, he hasn't. The mass were there. It's just we didn't understand them before we brought it onto the ship. So if we had this information before we brought it onto the ship, then we would have it would have been.
I get where you're going.
We would have talked about it beforehand, before it came onto the ship.
It's too late for a refund.
Well, if it's on the ship, it's in our custody now, isn't it?
It is. What I was going to say something else as well, and I can't remember. And it's a really good idea.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
I know.
You get caught up in a tangent and you forgot the original thing.
No,
So-
no.
Calmly interrogate him?
It's
You were trying to lead this to a point that you could use as an edge in the interrogation, I take it?
yeah. And I had the edge as well, and I've completely forgot it.
So,
Um,
let's see if I can follow the logic and the reasoning that going in here. You know that it was there. It wasn't. It was more a crime of omission than it was anything else. If you'd have told us about that you were bringing a microsingularity onto our ship, we'd have had, obvious concerns.
I've got it. I remember
Cool.
now. It was the interaction between Tavish and himself, which was his career depends on the success of this.
Okay.
Yeah, the
So you wanna
fact
use
that
as a leverage.
the fact that he is using what could be stolen technology, and him, the information we have about this is that this is probably stolen technology, and that this is not gonna look good
On his career.
on his career at all. No, because if have Romulans got weapons like
yes.
this?
Well, not necessarily quantum torpedoes, as far as you know.
So
Romulan weapons are known to pack a punch.
Yes. So yeah. I think that's the line of questioning we go down. The pressure we put on him is that this can make or break his career, and if he doesn't,
If he doesn't
we will
comply,
not be
you can
doing,
let it.
Yeah.
You can let it known that he's dabbling in stolen tech, and that could hurt his career.
Yes, but also the fact that we don't have to. The fact that we found this out, we do not have to do the test. I do not think. I think Tavish would be like, this is potentially this is all, as he said, it's all theoretical. We have no idea exactly what this weapon is going to do, whether it's it's detonating a singularity that could turn into a bigger singularity
black hole.
on the on the edge of their space, which is right near the Romulan. What was it? It's near the Romulan
border.
Exactly. So this could cause a incident with Romulans. I do not. Yeah. Yeah. If anybody else has got anything.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, how sure are we that it's stolen? Maybe he traded it with the Romulans for some other information. Maybe we can butter him up. I just want to finish. Can we butter up his ego and be like, "Oh my word! How did you come up with such a brilliant invention?" And, see if he stumbles. Like,
Okay.
Or
it came to me in a dream.
or just point blank, being blunt, ask him where he got it from.
Okay.
True.
I think buttering him up is probably a good idea for the start of the interrogation. I think if we're not getting the answers, I do think when you're going to interrogate, doing it, getting a rapport with the person you're interrogating is a really it's.
If they get defensive,
idea.
they'll clam up.
Yes.
So we need a good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
Well, no. We need a good cop, at the start. We need to build
So
that
open
rapport.
with the good cop and only use the bad cop if a good cop doesn't succeed.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think. Not.
I get you. Okay,
Yeah, with the interrogation. Yeah, you get where I'm going
more or less. Yeah.
with this. Yeah.
Hopkins is good. She knows what she's doing.
But
It
those
comes
are
to
all
interrogating.
suggestions as to tactics to use, so that's all cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got a Betazoid on staff.
Well, that's the thing. Like I have noted previously, you do have supporting characters that can be fielded as and when they are needed. So far, the only supporting character you've actually created has been Ensign Akos. I fielded Ensign Rabalon merely as a side character because at some point you did actually need somebody sat in the communications desk. So technically, Ravalon hasn't been used for anything except the fact that he's just there. But Ensign Akos was created and designed with the intention of having somebody from security who also could assist in engineering. You still have 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. Yeah, 4 supporting characters available to create if you want to create them. So if you want to create a Betazoid character in some sense to be on the crew, now would be the time to use that supporting character slot to introduce them.
Yes.
Like, a non-invasive telepath or something.
Yes.
Oh, just a second.
Career counselor.
Well, indeed, you haven't allocated
Yes,
a counselor
Ship's
yet.
counselor. Yeah, ship's counselor. Yeah.
Ship's counselor. Okay, so let's quickly, as quickly as I can, supporting characters. That would be in the core rulebook. Cool. That's the Klingon core rulebook. So no, there are no. There are different types of counselors in the Klingon core rulebook. Designing supporting characters. Let's try and do this as quick as we can. Right.
Back.
That's cool. Right, so let's grab. Right, so they're a Betazoid. If somebody wants to quickly find a Betazoid random name generator or some such, we can quickly come up with a Betazoid. Betazoid male or Betazoid female? Betazoid other.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna need to know the exact gender.
So we can flip a coin if nobody wants to. Heck with it. Let's flip a coin. Let's make it entirely random. 1 male, 2 female. Female. Okay, female Betazoid.
Okay.
Alright.
Who gets there first? Chris and Liz. Let's see who gets there first.
Alright, Betazoid.
I rather like Mahosot Sax.
Councillor Sachs.
Councillor Sax. Very jazzy. Yeah.
What about you, Liz? What have you found?
But
Yeah. For Betazoid.
Post the name either in Discord or in the chat channel, Chris, so we can compare. We can see which one we like better. Just so I know how to spell the name as well. Have a good look.
I won't lie, this is carried heavily by the last name. What about Jeevra Sax?
Mixture of the two.
G for Sax. Oh, okay. Yeah. G for Sax.
Everyone's a winner.
Yeah, there we go. Combine the two. G for Sax. How's that sound to everybody? You can always change your name later, it's fine.
Cool.
I'm good with it.
Alright, so species Betazoid. Frank will come up with that later. Traits, Betazoid. Now, did we want empath or telepath? Do we think?
That's a good question.
I was going to say,
I guess telepath is more literal, but then empath's more like a lie detector, right?
Sure.
Well, there is an element of being an empath where it's just like, Captain, I think he's angry. It's like, you can see that.
yeah.
Which would you rather then? Reading someone's thoughts, or
I
reading
think
someone's
telepath
emotional
might be
state?
more practically. I think it might be more practical to go telepath.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seconded, thirded.
Yep.
Going once. Okay. Telepath it shall be. All right. Do I have a Betazoid in my list of? Go on, sorry.
So what you didn't know is that Tavish gets told by the captain to go and see the council a lot,
Yeah.
apparently.
Why do I have a feeling that he's gonna be telling the Klingon to do the same thing?
Dark-eyed female. I did have one. Let's see if I can drag it out from. That will do.
I'm sorry, Councillor. Can you talk to Tavish again? Why she threw the hyperspanner again?
Oh God!
Councillor,
I'll
I keep
clear
having
my
this recurring
schedule.
nightmare. I keep
Counselor, I
having
need,
this recurring nightmare. I'm in a shuttle and I'm driving sensibly.
oh,
Oh,
Counselor, I
Christ.
need you to talk with Hopkins again. It's like, why?
Why? Why would you do this to me?
It's like,
Councillor
you may
Jeeper-Sacks.
have go-
Right, 10, 9, 9, 8. So 10, we're probably going to give insight 10 because that's the most important thing to a Betazoid. Two nines.
I can.
Let's see. We'll probably need a 9 in reason and a 9 in presence. 9, 9, 8, 8, and 7. So 8, 8 for control. 8 for daring, because to deal with this lot, you're going to have a little bit of craziness.
Especially
Go
the
on.
first officer and engineer.
Exactly. So, highest discipline will be 4. Now, technically, this counts as a science officer with medicine, so let's make medicine 4. Next discipline will be 3, so if medicine is 3, then that suggests maybe command personality would be 3. That leaves us with 2, 2, 1, and 1. Science, definitely 2. Engineering wouldn't have anything here, neither would security, so let's go con 2 and leave engineering and security as scores of 1 each, which leaves a stress track of 8. They are allowed 3 focuses, so let's go with the obvious one, psychology. Can anyone suggest another focus?
I'm gonna find them again. Whereabouts are they again? Sorry.
Well, focus can be
they're the
anything
ones
that you can think
yourself.
of. Yeah,
Okay, right. Sorry. Yeah.
anything that you can
of,
think of. There's no set list, but we're creating a counsellor here, so what 3 focuses do we think a counsellor should have? 1 is psychology, for definite. Any other 2 that anybody would like to suggest? What makes a good counsellor?
Empathy?
Okay. Being a telepath, but also able to empathize with folks. Okay, cool. That's good. Everybody okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Which leaves us with 1 left. Well, you've got to be a good talker. How about diplomacy?
Good communicator.
That's kind of suggested with how high your command and insight are, or your presence, rather. But something as a specific focus, I suggest diplomacy. If somebody has got something different, negotiation or some such, or anything else that suggests itself for a counsellor.
Diplomacy.
Any
Yeah, that
any
works
advances
for me.
on that? Okay, we'll go with diplomacy. Okay. They are
I
assumed.
did have something.
Go on, sorry.
If she, they don't have determination, do they?
No, at this point, a supporting character will not have values and therefore will not have determination. What will happen is, as you start making this character turn up more and more and use them, they will themselves start getting the option of having little advances. It's almost like you've given the casting call to cast this side character, and they've been given lines for all of one episode, but we liked them enough that they had a use in another episode, so we brought them back, and as a result they occasionally get little bumps to... They can either gain a new focus, or they can gain a new talent, or eventually they can gain a value and therefore determination. So the more you use these supporting characters, the more they keep coming back, the more you can give them extra little boosts to their initial...
I've already got a focus for her.
Oh yeah? Oh, you mean a value?
Play on words. Value,
Focus.
yeah. Play
Value,
on words.
Potentially. So, I want to make sure that you can all use this Pooch Counselor first, so let me configure ownership so that you've all got ownership of a supporting character. Counselor Jivra Sachs, and she should have... I mean, it's not entirely necessary at this point, but I'm going to do it anyway. Character Equipment Communicator. Cool. Why did I close that? Let's bring on the Counselor. She's been there all along, folks. Actually, no, let me take that away. I need to put her health, or rather her stress track in. She's not hostile, she's friendly, and we need to always see her stress track just to make sure we know how much stress she has, because, you know, you guys are stressful enough as is. There we go!
Yeah, I think her stress stuck at 1.
There we are, Councillor Jivra Sachs. So, we could use a councillor, a telepathic betazoid right about now. Well, as it so happens,
Here's
already...
what I made earlier.
And as an aside, this is why I like this game so much, insofar as Suitable Substrate could tell you, who's been watching our channel's shenanigans for quite some time. And so these are pre-written adventures. I have run them before with the other group. You guys are having them now, but the ship is your own, your characters are your own, and this crew, as you start to slowly build them with supporting characters and other random crew members that turn up, they definitely become your own creation, your unique things, and that's why I love this so much. It's great. Anyway, you now have your counsellor, so you've got this. Dr. Jabren is suddenly feeling rather crowded, as there's a quartet of individuals now surrounding him. Make that a quintet. He is now entirely
there just in case.
Yes. In case
things
somebody
happen.
gets injured. All right. Dr. Jabren looks very nervous. Can I help you, Commander?
Oh yeah, just curious on how you were able to think of such a great power source for the torpedo.
Okay, so if we're going with that tactic, then let me ask for...
They said butter him up.
Yeah,
It was
exactly,
probably
exactly.
better.
And let's see how well it registers. So I am going to ask you to give me a presence and command check. Anybody else who wants to get in on it? I will say, if you want Councillor Sachs to get in on this, then she is more than likely going to be using her telepathy to try and be basically the Betazoid lie detector. So she is probably
With
going to want to
negotiation.
help.
Could I also use Dr. Salt's warm welcome? Whenever assisting another character, the Bolian may use their presence attribute instead of their own. We may ignore any increases in complication range.
So, yes,
I can't
Dr.
see
Salt.
Hopkins' character sheet, but I've got 10 presents.
Oh, I got 11.
No,
But
no,
what you can do then is essentially...
I can remove a complication.
Yeah, no, fitness, reason, and control are 8. Daring is 10. The other 2 are 11.
So at least with Dr. Sott getting involved, any increases in the complication range are ignored.
Okay,
And if you want, Dr. Sott can instead... it's presence you're switching, though, isn't it? I mean, if Ensign ACOS is getting involved in the interrogation as well, then he could use Dr. Sott's presence instead. Or, if you're using Lieutenant Garrow's rather sizable musculature to try and impose, then Garrow could also do with having his presence swapped out for Dr. Sott's. So it's still applicable if you want other people involved.
Cool.
And then for focus, I can use interrogation or negotiation.
Either works in this case, yeah. So, let's see then. Who am I missing out? Both Connie and Dave. So, who wants to be the counselor, Connie or Dave? I will
Let
go
Connie
with
do it.
Connie. Okay.
I've had a lot of I've had
You've been
a
doing a lot
lot
of
of talking and stuff.
Okay. You had lines. You had many lines. You've made your pay packet as an actor for this week, for this episode, so you're good.
Yeah. Well, I'm just sitting back and relaxing now, watching
Yeah.
the amazing.
And
Of course.
scene. Right.
There's not gonna be any bam.
Okay,
You
so
know,
go on,
she
sorry.
just leaves the bat lift and her dagger back in her room.
So yeah, leaves all the weapons out of the way, so there's no implication of violence whatsoever. Okay, got it. Right, so if Hopkins is going to be leading this, we'll also want the Councillor to be monitoring this, so if Connie as Councillor Sarks can give me insight and command to represent using telepathy, only 1 dice, probably using the empathy focus. That would be grand. I mean, Garrow can get involved in this as well with insight and security, but using 10 insight rather than 9, thanks to Dr. Sott. Likewise, Dr. Sott can do the same.
Inside command, you say, sorry?
Yep. So that's
Single
1,
dice.
2, 3. That's the maximum of 5 dice we're allowed. So if I can get Dave to be Lieutenant Garrow, please. Insight and security for
Okay.
Lieutenant Garrow.
Insight and security. Any focuses?
Ooh. I don't think they really apply. Shipboard tactical systems? No. Survival? An argument could be made for survival. Maybe. Yeah, because if this turns out to be something that's been nicked from the Romulans, then the survival of the ship might be paramount. So, okay, yeah. Everybody good? Oh, as far as Dr. Sott goes,
Psychiatry?
yeah, let's go with that. That's a
Use
focus.
focus. 1 dice.
We'll remember to add 1 to Garrow's thing, so if Dr. Sott's going first, then I'll need the Councillor to roll 1 dice as well, with a focus. And I'll need Lieutenant Garrow to roll with a focus as well. All 1 dice for those guys.
Am I 1 dice as well, sorry?
Yes, please, because you are assisting.
Cool.
Okay, nothing there. Oh dear. Okay. Okie doke. Well, you didn't have Phlesc assisting this time, so unfortunately that complication does
Can we re-roll it?
land. Yeah, can you re-roll it? Technically, Garrow has social animal as a value, so does know how to be better at being good cop. So yes, I will allow the use of the expenditure of Garrow's determination in order to re-roll that 20. So far, we've got one success. Let's see what the
Would I-
re-roll for Garrow goes.
So it looks like we got. Oh, yeah. Would I be able to re-roll the 17 with the determination?
If you really want to, then yes.
I got one success. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that means that Hopkins has generated 2 successes. So that's 2, 3, 4 overall. All right, nice. Okay. All right then. So you use your tactics to butter him up first, in order to imply that yes, you must be. It must have been a moment of genius, inspiration type of thing to come up with this power source. And you do notice. It doesn't take the Betazoid, the telepath, to notice that Dr. Jabrel's pallor goes from that kind of almost iridescent green that Takarans have got. The green very much pales out. And he starts to stutter over his words and go, thank you very much for noticing. So, the tactics employed start to you use flattery and whatnot to try and insinuate that he's very clever for coming up with something, especially for something that seems to resemble very much Romulan tech, which I believe was the tactic that was going to be used. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was I wrong?
So, the second he starts looking, she's just going to think to herself, yep, he stole it.
So, do you introduce that as an accusation into the interrogation?
Not yet.
Okay. So, Dave's recommendation of the tactic to use was to try and swing it around to, if this is stolen, then it could look bad, unless Dave wants to correct me and I'm getting the wrong end of that stick.
No, you're not.
So, eventually that will have to be introduced, so... Or not, it doesn't have to be, but I'm intending on introducing it. So when you say you don't introduce it immediately, how do you build up to introducing the subject?
More she wants to see if he stumbles and finally admits it first. She's just gonna ask him to go over the method on which he tried to, or how he came about this technology.
Okay.
Like, how
Do
did
we
he?
bring up?
Go on, Connie.
Yeah, like he explain how he developed.
Was that what you were going for
The
as well,
system.
Connie?
I wanted to maybe follow up with that, with like, oh, so, you know, the only people we know how similar are the Romulans,
Right.
and see how he reacts that way.
Okay. So...
all right. Can I?
Yep.
Can I just?
Yeah.
I think we go with. I think we need to go with both, but
Lead into it first, kind of thing.
Yeah. So yeah, the Hopkins asking, you know, where to explain it, because we do have Ensign Akos there, who is an engineer, who is going to probably understand some of this. To explain where, you know, how he came about, theoretically, you know, with the theoretics of this. If the answer is not good enough, then going well, the Romulans have this, as Connie said, and
See what that results
and
in.
asking and see how he reacts to that.
Okay.
So, it has to be. This has to be definitely a two-parter.
Righty-ho. Okay, no problem. In that case, yes, when directly asked about how he got it, he stammers a bit to start with, but the idea for the power source was not entirely my own, I have to confess. It was the military who brought the specifications for the power source to me, and then they charged me with developing a weapon from this schematic. And then as soon as the mention of, well, the Romulans have got tech like this, but put better as you guys did, the Betazoid in your group, the Counselor, immediately gets this enormous flash of "What?" going on in his brain. So the mention of the Romulans elicits a very definite reaction. Now, to Jabren's credit, his outer veneer remains nearly inscrutable if it wasn't for the change in his overall pallor. But of course, the Betazoid counselor is able to detect a large flash of sudden anxiety that surges up the moment the Romulans are mentioned. So,
Does the counselor say that?
well, that's up to you, because the counselor, as a telepath, is potentially able to telepathically project her own voice into your heads.
Oh yeah.
Then I think she should do that. Then I don't think it should be discussed with.
Yeah, it shouldn't be declared openly. Kind of
Suspect.
thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to know if the counselor lets Hopkins know that, yeah, he's anxious when the Romulans were mentioned.
Well, I'm assuming so, unless directed otherwise. All right then. So yes, this gets telepathically mentioned to Hopkins. Hopkins, never having actually experienced telepathic communication before, it's almost like you wanna answer out loud because you suddenly hear a voice, but then you realize you didn't actually hear a voice, and it's that weird momentary mental flip of, I heard a voice, but I didn't actually hear a voice. Whoa, that is actually weird. Anyway, So Hopkins has to briefly bring herself back into the moment, but otherwise, yes, it is mentioned that the Romulans did provoke a response. But the interesting thing is, everybody involved in this interrogation notices that when Jabren mentioned that it was the military that brought him the specifications of this, he said it in such a way that you don't believe he's lying. He's still very nervous about it, and, he's showing definite signs of anxiety over being questioned about it, but the comment about it coming from the military and being given the schematics to work on doesn't, to you, appear to be a lie. Whether it's the whole truth.
This is basically the well, it's not basically, but whatever. So how I'm discerning it is that the military have gone, look, we've got this technology. Do something with it.
Whether they took it from a Romulan ship or traded it is another thing.
I think the questioning now has to go to exactly what the military wanted, how it was said, and if they explained where this, as a good scientist and engineer would ask, where this technology came from. Especially with the fact that this technology is probably going to be used in Starfleet.
Yeah. I think she will
I-
mention to him exactly what did your military tell you when they handed you this technology. Exact words.
Okie dokie. So just as you ask that question, and he looks like he's about to answer, you get the very familiar deceleration of the ship. Actually, no, you didn't go to warp, did you? But you get the very familiar deceleration feeling of the impulse engines coming to, bringing the ship to an all stop. And you do get. If I can just switch this over. All hands, this is the captain. We are now at our destination. All departments, please stand by. Dr. Jabren, at this instant, goes, The military didn't tell me anything. Now, please, it's vitally important that we at least be seen to be conducting this experiment. At the very least, let's get this torpedo off of this ship and onto the test bed, and I will then endeavor to tell you as much as I can. But please, the military haven't exactly left me many options.
Just answer me this one question. Do you believe they stole it from the Romulans?
He's
I'm
looking
asking
around
for the
feverishly.
safety of this crew. We need to know if we might get attacked.
Commander, I say this with all earnestness. I would ask you to please deliver the torpedo to the derelict as quickly as possible. And whatever happens, just let it happen. Please.
Question for you, Matt.
Yeah.
Does he look? I mean, with how you're sounding, does he look actually afraid for his life? Would our Betazoid pick up on that,
Yeah, I'll say so.
or anything else?
Yes. I'll go with that.
Yes. Yeah, but
I mean, he's still
I
definitely
think we-
holding something back. But he seems very afraid to answer, yes.
She will tell Lieutenant Garrow to escort him to the bay to get the torpedo off. As she goes immediately to the command, back to the bridge to talk with the captain.
Okay. So Dr. Jabran is being escorted to... Where again, sorry? Just to make sure I don't get this wrong.
Torpedo for yes.
Yeah. Basically, both Garrow and Ensign, he's being escorted by the two security people.
Okay, so he's being escorted to help get this thing off. Okay, so you guys are going back to the bridge. Dr. Sott can take his usual seat if he wishes. Not that, Dr. Sott
Yeah.
will probably returning to sick bay or some such. Up to you, though, Chris.
Yeah.
For a guest, this isn't going to be a conversation we're going to have on the bridge. I guess
No.
this will be done in the. Is it the ready room?
Commander Hopkins was going to let the captain know in his ready room.
Right.
And
Okay.
Commander Hopkins would have suggested for Dr. Scott to go to the sick bay. He has a bad feeling we're going to get attacked
Okay.
You?
and
So-
probably have casualties because she does not like the idea that Romulans use this technology. And we don't know how they came about it.
Are you suggesting, Commander, that the technology was stolen from the Romulans by the Takarans, and that Dr. Jabren, pardon me, is not necessarily complicit in this theft?
From what I gathered, yes. And that he's under very strict orders to execute this test.
Logic would suggest that if the situation is not as it seems, that we should abandon the test and report this to Starfleet. However, from what you just told me, Dr. Jabren seems insistent that we conduct the test as expected.
Yeah, at least then get the torpedo onto the derelict and let it play out.
And let it play out. Very well.
Exactly.
If this is your recommendation to me, number one, then I will go with it.
She would also recommend probably going to yellow alert.
Yellow alert. Very well.
Can I just that Tavish did say to while they were still on the planet that to Dr. Thought that scanning the
area for life signs.
Scanning
yes.
the area for life sign and the derelict ship for life signs, or or bodies, or humanoid bodies on the ship.
Good point. Well made. In fact, let's do that now. If we get Dr. Sott to give me a control and medicine check with a focus on, well, not much.
Control, medicine, perform task.
But I'm also going to
dice.
need somebody to be the ship, because the ship has got advanced sensors. So let's have... Connie, do you fancy being the ship?
Yeah.
Cool. The ship is going to be utilizing sensors and medicine, and you've got an advanced sensor suite, which means the difficulty of the sensor task is lowered. So you've actually got a sensor check of 0. So if the ship can give me one roll of sensors and medicine, please, do you know where to find the ship?
Yeah.
Cool beans.
Okay.
One success from the ship as well. 3 successes overall, well and above what you needed. You gain a very detailed scan of the derelict ship. In fact, let's move you over to space. So, this represents the edge of Takaran space where you have just landed, and I say landed, emerged. Arrived? Arrived is better. And yes, sure enough, some distance away you do detect a derelict freighter. Seems pretty standard configuration of merchant freighter. You've seen them all over the place. This one looks pretty old, so that part of the suggested test fire was at least correct. Conducting a detailed sensor scan for life signs aboard the derelict freighter, you can happily confirm that there are no life signs aboard the derelict freighter. There's not even evidence of dead bodies. So, you've got that going for you. Next up, we are going to need to have somebody ferry the warhead to the derelict freighter, if indeed we are still going on with the test fire. In
Can
which
we
case,
simulate it?
can you simulate it? In what fashion?
Like fire a torpedo that's not the same.
So you just want to, just to remind you, just in case, the test fire was going to be the loading of the torpedo onto the derelict freighter. The shuttle comes back, and the Combs basically issues a little signal that then detonates the torpedo from a distance, and that would be different from actually firing a torpedo at the ship to destroy it. So,
Can I? Would Tavish? For I guess Tavish has been told this information too. Yeah.
I'm assuming that the important, the senior staff have been informed of all the developments and whatnot.
The question would be to Dr. Jabren would be if if this torpedo is not taken off the ship, is there a danger that this thing will explode regardless of anything else?
Dr. Jabren, I'm assuming Tavish just goes to actively search for Jabren at this point. Wherever Garrow and Akos have escorted him to. But you said you were allowing him to help escort the thing, so this is going to be more or less meeting in the shuttle bay, loading the torpedo onto the shuttle. Okay, fine. This is just me trying to get my brain in order here. Jabren just turns to Tavish and makes sure to include Garrow and Akos in this, just to say, the torpedo will not detonate on board the Navis. Jeez, I'm taking a threat down for getting the ship name wrong. The torpedo will not detonate on the Combs prematurely unless the detonation sequence is entered into the computer and transmitted. As long as you take the torpedo onto the freighter, this ship should be in no danger.
Then Tavish will inform the basically command, so everybody that if we do not get the torpedo off this ship, the ship is in danger.
Okay. So with that particular notion impressed upon folks, the torpedo still needs taking over to the other ship, to the derelict ship, and safely stowed. The minimum distance is suggested to be about 200,000 kilometers in order to away from the freighter in order to safely observe this. But the minimum was actually 100,000 kilometers. But because you wanted extra breathing room, we've suggested 200,000 kilometers. So that's the suggested distance of the Combs to the freighter from this point. So, let's see. If I can get somebody to... Well, who's going to fly it? Is it going to be your chief helm officer, or is it going to be someone else flying the shuttle that takes the warhead to the ship?
Tavish, can you do it quickly and safely?
Step on it! That is a valid question.
If you want Tavish to do this, she can. I've got no problem with that.
Okay then.
The latest time that the shuttle is away from the ship, the better. Because she's still thinking there's going to be an attack.
Tavish will say, yes, I will do this, but just know that you are putting my life in danger. You're putting mine or anybody else's life in
We will
danger.
have
Yes.
transporter lock on you at all times.
Thank you.
There we go then. There's your safety belt.
Thank you. Alright, Tavish will go and do this. If anybody else is coming to help her put it on,
I was going to
thingy,
ask.
If not, she will try and put this on herself.
So, is
well,
anybody going to help?
Commander Hopkins can't suggest that she does it without going with.
Okay, so Hopkins is going to assist. Cool. Can I get a control or daring and con task? And the two of you can collaborate if you want, in order to pilot the shuttle safely towards the freighter.
So you want a daring and con?
If you please. Let's get a shuttlecraft going here. With all of its power. Either daring or control, whichever is higher.
I'll take control. Actually, actually, depending on what focuses I'm going to use. Actually,
Well, you got shuttle racer going on here, so
yes.
or you can
so
utilize
did you want
warp
me to use
engines. So no, you're not using warp engines because you're not going to warp. So shuttle racer would probably be the.
Did you want me to use daring instead of control?
I'm good
If I'm
with
using
either
that
because
focus?
a racer should be able to balance between going for broke and staying in control of the vessel. So,
Okay.
if Hopkins
I'll
is
take-
assisting, then yeah, daring and con with no focuses because they don't really apply. So we could have Hopkins is first to see how many we're starting off with. Ooh, okay, so it's all on you then, Dave. You only need one success for this, mind you, so...
Okay. Can I use, guys? Can I use a?
You've got a full momentum pool.
Can I use a momentum, please?
Yeah. Yes.
Chris, Connie.
Oh.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that's
Thank
a good point. Can I get Chris to be the shuttlecraft, please? Because it gets to help along as well. So this is going to
Sure.
be the shuttle. You should be able to hopefully click on the...
I can.
Cool. We'll be wanting, I'm going to say, engines and con for this. Only one dice.
Cool.
See if the shuttle helps any. Nope, it's all on Tavish. So you bought an extra dice, cool, you get to roll 3 with focus. Control and con, please.
God.
I'm not enjoying this. Honestly, I'm not enjoying this. 3 successes, nice.
Oh, Lily.
Go Lily indeed. So the shuttle successfully gets piloted over towards the freighter. Now you have to offload the torpedo successfully. Yes. Notice how I didn't up the complication range.
Hopkins is gonna do this, and at the second she's like, the torpedo's off.
Turn around,
Teleport
get out
me
of dodge.
off, or get the ship back to to safety.
I would probably suggest that Lily did this because we're having to place it on the shuttle, on the craft. Sorry.
So this is going to be daring or control and engineering to place the thing safely
Yeah.
in the hold of
Alright,
the
I will
freighter.
help. I will help.
Control and engineering are my best.
Okay, okay. Cross your fingers, everybody.
At least
Um,
for me, it's at least a little bit better.
Yeah. Go with whatever's best, your best judgment. Again, this is going to be difficulty 1 to get it into the hold of the freighter. Alright.
Come on.
Tavish, it's all on you.
Focus on experimental technology.
Sure. I'm good with
Thank
that. To me. No, to me, not you! Down easy. There we go. Woo! You didn't think it was...
fire.
You didn't think it was possible to perspire this much inside of an air-conned EV suit, but you are.
Now, back to the ship, quickly.
Step on it. Control and con, difficulty 1. Connie, if you could give me the shuttlecraft. Engines and con, please, to see how fast you can get back to the ship.
Is this the type?
This is the shuttlecraft. This little guy here.
Oh, there it is. Little guy.
This is gonna
Yeah.
be like the only time that
Engines and
Hopkins.
con.
The only time that Hopkins... What, sorry?
this is the only time Hopkins wants Tavish to be speedy.
And what were you going to say, Connie?
Engines and con.
Engines and con. Yes, please.
Yes, rolled it. 0.
Alrighty. So it's going to be
Did
that
you want us to
control...
roll?
That control or daring and con, if you please, to see how well you park the thing back at the Combs.
All right. Is Hopkins helping?
Looks like she is. One success, so anything else adds is all extras.
Focus of shuttle racer.
Yep, sure, go for it.
Definitely.
Oh, it was almost a 1, but that's good. That's good. He successfully managed to navigate the space. No accidents have happened whatsoever. The shuttle manages to successfully make its way back to the main ship and stow itself back in the shuttle bay. To say that the 2 occupants of the shuttle get off with a great sigh of relief would be vastly understating their reaction. However,
can I just
go on?
Can I just say something as they get off?
Yes.
To Hopkins. Don't ever doubt my
piloting skills again.
Shuttle, my shuttle, my piloting skills ever again.
You did pretty much do a handbrake turn and shoot off at maximum acceleration, yeah, so I'll give you that.
Nice Tokyo drift into the shuttle bay.
Indeed. All right.
Hopkins is just sitting there, like, speechless. You don't think you've ever seen a Klingon so pale.
All right, so a bit of tense navigation of the nearby area notwithstanding, the experimental torpedo has now been successfully delivered to the derelict freighter, and those who delivered it are safely back aboard the Combs, back aboard the bridge of the Combs, where they can view everything from a extra safe distance. So, Dr. Jabren has handed over, and he's insisted on coming to the bridge to have a look at what happens. So whether or not you allow him to get to the bridge is entirely up to you.
I think we should allow him, but he has to have Garrow and
ACOS, okay,
to be there. Yeah, ACOS to be there, right next to him.
No problem.
Also having our shields up, and taking every precaution with the ship. I do have a suggestion that we scan for vessels in the area as well.
Well, it's funny you should mention that.
Oh God!
Because the moment that you guys get back onto the bridge and you give the report that the device is safely on board the derelict, we've set up everything ready. The cat is really annoying me. Bye, cat. Yes, whoever's on sensors, which in this case would more than likely be Phlesc, since he's operations officer. He suddenly tells the captain that there's a sudden surge in tachyons. And I believe it's tachyons. As all of a sudden, you get the warning: 3 Klingon ships decloaking off of our port bow, Captain.
Klingon?
Klingon.
Oh, shit.
Damn.
Who did we just lose?
I think a message to the Klingon ships to get away from this. To get away from this, that there's a massive explosion just about to happen.
So, I need to do a few things here.
I honestly think this should be coming from our commander.
So, I just need to prepare a certain something. That was the wrong one to do, man. So when naturally when the birds of prey first arrive, when they decloak, their shields are down, but their power, in order to Kisses from cat. You're making a tense situation rather untense, my cat. Yes, I know. The Klingon ships decloak. one of which starts to head... Pardon me, I've still got all of them selected. One of them starts to head towards the freighter. The other two...
Sorry, Matt, you're breaking up for me.
Am I breaking up for anybody else?
I can't hear.
No, I can't hear Matt.
Yeah, me neither.
Whoa. Hello, hello, incoming. Can everybody hear me? Shoot.
You are
Sort
really
of.
breaking up.
Okay, give me 1 moment. I've got 10 minutes left. Let's see if I can't do this. I will just sign out and quickly sign in to see if that makes any difference. So far, nothing. Can I get folks to join me in the ready room, please? This is me typing in Discord. Thanks, I think it's just Discord playing silly bonkers.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent.
Ah, there we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent. For some reason, when I connected to the other Discord channel, the connection was practically non-existent when I first connected, and then it suddenly dropped out. Changing to this voice chat seemed to be fine, so weird. Anyway, what I was trying to say, and I'm having to juggle a cat at the same time, so do excuse me if I get a bit distracted. But the 3 Klingon ships that decloak, one of them starts heading straight towards the freighter. The other 2 come about and face the Combs, at which point they raise their shields and charge their weapons.
When they come about, is there any distinguishing marks to figure out what kind of house they might be part of?
I'm going, even though we've got not much time left, I'm going to allow you that moment to do that since you pulled that out rather nicely. I'm going to ask you to give me an insight and engineering check, if you please. I'm not going to tell you how much, but it's going to be fairly easy.
Don't be do-us, don't be do-us.
Can I use a Can I use a momentum?
It's up to everybody else, but I shouldn't see a reason why not.
Sure, we haven't used it at all, really, yet.
Yeah, we've only used it once, so yeah, go for it.
And do I have any
Focuses in regards to
values?
identifying Klingon houses on Klingon ships? Unfortunately, you didn't get that specific with your focuses, no.
No, but would death before dishonor work as a value?
I'd be okay with that. If you're willing to spend the determination and death before dishonor value, then fine, yeah. You can do that to add to determination to your roll. Nice. 3 successes overall. Cool. I'll give you a momentum back for that. So, knowing that there's something wrong going on and expecting trouble but not expecting Klingons, Trasa quickly, using the console on the armrest of the first officer's chair, quickly checks sensor readings and notices there is indeed a house crest identifier on these birds of prey. And you recognize it as the house of Duras.
Bugger.
And that is where I'm going to end today's episode.
Oh,
I totally forgot about, since I used 2 determinations this time, I have to roll to see if I get effects because of veteran.
Oh yes, of course you do. So yeah, give me yes you do. You get it back. Nice.
I got both.
In fact, you got both of them back. Oh, well done you. Pays to be a veteran. So yes, complications and weirdness abound. What is actually going on? Well, I'm afraid the answer to that will not necessarily have to be next week. Because sadly, I think there are folks who can't make next week. Let's just check. I've got Chris and Connie are not available next Sunday.
Yeah, at a wedding.
And then the Sunday afterwards, the 13th, Chris, Connie, and Dave are not available.
Yes.
Oh, noes! So, unfortunately, our ability to find out what happened in this, the end of this episode is going to have to be postponed by 2 weeks. So, wow. But we'll have something to look forward to when we come back. And, let me see, 1, 2... unfortunately, it gets worse than that, I'm afraid. Now, actually, no, I'll keep you apprised of that. Technically, I will be coming back from somewhere on the following Sunday. I'm not sure if I'll make it back in time for 1 PM, so... It looks like it might be a month until we see each other again. I'm very sorry, but that's the way it seems to have worked out.
Oh no, don't worry, it gives me time to figure out the relation between my player's house and this house.
Now, what I will say, actually, cue froze time. There is the possibility, but it depends entirely on Chris and Connie, because you guys are not going to be here next week. If we have everybody else, like Mark, available, and Chris, would Chris and Connie be okay with us continuing without them?
I don't mind so much.
Connie?
Thus far, it's not been a particularly Dr. Sot-centric story. There's always the EMH.
That is true. I was about to say, next week might be a Dr. Sot focused.
Who knows? But, yeah. Connie, as long as you're okay with us carrying on without you, it's entirely up to you. Don't feel you need to say yes.
No, it's okay.
So if you're okay with other folks carrying on in your stead, then we could get next week's off in order to try and conclude this episode. Which means we just have to make sure that Chris, Bell, and Mark are both available. So I suppose it's a wait-and-see kind of thing, but I will try and get yes or no answers from those involved. If we get a yes, then basically keep an eye out on not only Twitch, but the Twitch schedule for this channel, but also the Start Playing Games listing, let me say, for this adventure. I'm taking those guys who are watching the feed right now. I usually post my schedule. The next one is scheduled for the 6th. If that changes, I will try and let people know, including the folks here on Twitch. We'll just have to watch to see whether or not the schedule has changed. So yeah, this is always a very disruptive time of the year, I'm afraid, is July and August. So we'll just have to see how it pans out. But with any luck, we'll get the conclusion to this episode next week. If not, then it might have to be delayed by a whole month. So there we go.
USS Combs calls for reinforcements from their commander's house.
Well, I'm sure there are ways and means of doing that, but it usually involves spending momentum. But you've got a full pull, so you never know. However, we shall have to wait and see what transpires next time. So in the meantime, those who are watching the stream, thank you very much for tuning in and watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed performing for you in it. If you are watching this on YouTube, however, and you did enjoy this, including the bits of me having to navigate taking a cat down off of my microphone stand, thank you, Suitable Substrate, for joining in. Those who are watching this on YouTube, if you like this, then feel free to give us a like, because it helps not just us, but everybody who does actual plays of their role-playing games. And Star Trek related stuff as well, so it all helps us with our Lord and Master, the algorithm. All hail the algorithm. In the meantime, I would ask you to basically do like the Vulcans do, which is not to render somebody unconscious with a Vulcan nerve pinch. I'm actually talking about infinite diversity and infinite combinations, treating everybody rightly and looking after yourselves and each other. Until then, I wish you all to live long and prosper, and see you when we see you next. Hailing frequencies now closed.